Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's featured Reddit stories are from Am I the A-Hole? Story 1 today is by Immediate Phrase 999. Am I the a-hole for agreeing with my daughter that it's weird for her friend's mom to have access to their conversations? My daughter is 14 years old and has a friend, Chloe. She and Chloe have been friends for a little over a year now. Chloe's mom, Gina, is someone I'd consider pretty strict. I was aware she'd check Chloe's phone, and I know a lot of parents do this, but I found out a few months ago through my daughter that she'd respond through Chloe's phone to Chloe's friends, including my daughter. It was never anything overkill, just, Chloe can't talk right now, she's busy with homework, or whatever. I thought this was odd, but I didn't say anything to Gina about it because it's her life and her business. I got a call from Gina earlier this afternoon. She was very pissed off and told me that my daughter was rude, I needed to start monitoring what she says, etc. I asked her exactly what happened, and she said my daughter gave her an attitude via text. I was still very confused and asked why they were texting. Gina became exasperated and snapped through Chloe's phone. I told her I'd call her back and asked my daughter specifically what happened. My daughter willingly showed me her texts. She had texted Chloe something. Gina had responded, using Chloe's phone, saying Chloe was busy. My daughter replied asking when Chloe would be available to talk. Gina told her, when she's ready, stop texting her. My daughter replied, you don't have to be so rude. Gina said she wasn't being rude. My daughter said yes, Gina was, and also called her a weirdo for using Chloe's phone. I told my daughter next time just don't engage. I did also say it wasn't kind to call someone a weirdo and not to do it again, but that I also understood her frustration. I didn't punish her. She seemed receptive to the talk and I left it at that. I called Gina back and told her I had spoken to my daughter and handled the problem. Gina started ranting that I need to monitor my daughter's phone and have I seen some of the things she talks about? She started on crushes, rants about teachers, saying there were times my daughter badmouthed me when frustrated. I said that's all fine. I'd rather her have a safe space to vent with her friends. After all, she's a teenager. Gina kept pressing on the issue and what would be done. I told her nothing. I spoke with my daughter and handled it. Gina said, but she insulted an adult. I told her I handled it, but my daughter also didn't say anything that wasn't true. Gina was acting like a weirdo. Now, Gina is angry with me. My daughter doesn't care that I said all of this. However, my husband thinks that I shouldn't have said it as it didn't solve anything, and Gina can parent how she wants. I said I never commented on Gina's parenting until she tried to undermine and insult mine. Am I the a-hole? Your husband is dead wrong here. You never said anything to her about her being weird, obviously weird, until she started telling you that you need to be more like her. You need to invade your daughter's private space and helicopter parent. I swear some parents are not satisfied in their lives unless they're hovering over their children and living vicariously through their texts. She shouldn't even have access to her cell phone, and I feel bad for Gina's daughter. And honestly, that may be going a little far. I understand parents sometimes need to have access to their kids' cell phones for security, for making sure they're okay, but she doesn't need to be picking up her phone and responding whenever she feels like it to her friends. It's not your social circle. These people don't want to talk to you. They want to talk to your daughter. And if you don't want to give your daughter the freedom to talk to them in relative privacy, then don't get them a cell phone. Then they can talk privately without you and not have you nosing through everything. Yeah, this right here is a monster helicopter parent mother. Our next story today is by Yosu. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up my college fund to help my parent with their debt? I just started college this year. Ever since I was little, my grandparents set up a college fund for me, and it's the only reason I can afford school without taking on massive debt. My parents always knew about it, and it was always meant for my education. Recently, my parents have been struggling financially due to bad investments and overspending. They sat me down and asked me to use my college fund to help them pay off their debts. They said that since they raised me, it's only fair that I help them now that they're struggling. I said no. I told them I was grateful for everything they've done, but this money was specifically for my education, and I wasn't going to throw away my future. They got upset and said I was being selfish and ungrateful. My mom even cried, saying she never thought her own daughter would turn her back on them. Now my parents barely talk to me. I feel horrible, but at the same time, I don't think I should have to sacrifice my future because of their financial mistakes. Am I the a-hole for refusing to give up my college fund? First things first, college degrees nowadays aren't worth as much as you'd like to wish they were. That being said, it's really good to pursue a higher education to begin with for your own personal growth, and if you have a fund for it, you should probably go after this. A lot of people, though, end up getting degrees that don't actually help them in their future. Like me, for example. I got a degree in computer information systems and it amounted to nothing. And yes, to some degree, no pun intended, that may be my fault. I'm sure in the long run that it is, but you'll find that a lot of positions nowadays don't even require a college degree. And the positions out there that don't pay well, they require you to have a college degree. It's kind of backwards, honestly. But to answer OP's question, I do not think they're an a-hole for refusing to give up their college fund. It's for their education. They feel their education is important. They were given this fund for their education. They could bail their parents out of this enormous debt they're in from bad investments and overspending, but who's to say that would fix any of the problems? They'll just do more bad investments and overspending. It's not up to you to fix them because you have some money. They can dig themselves out of their debts. It's their debts, not yours. Generally speaking, most people in the comments agreed and said, no, it's your college fund. Spend it on your education. That's what it's meant for. That's what the money's for. But there were also people who were like, family helps family and you should help your family. And yes, you should always be there for your family, but you shouldn't give them money from something intended for something else to fix bad decisions on their part. A lot of people suggested that several years down the line, like after you get your college degree and you get a job, you could then help them if they still need help at that point. But it honestly sounds also like they have no faith in you getting a job after getting this education because they're just like, hey, we're going to take your college fund and spend it on our debt. That'd be great. Thanks. Forget your future. Don't worry about that. Just relieve our debts and basically screw yourself over. Our last story today is by After Ad 3961. Am I the a-hole for not following my husband's family tradition? I'm a 28 female, and my husband, who's 29, comes from a very traditional family. While we disagree with his family on many things, it's really never been an issue until now. I am currently 8 months pregnant, and my husband and I couldn't be happier as we've been trying for a while. Since I first found out I was pregnant, we've been discussing names for our child. In my husband's family, the tradition wants the child to be named after his grandfather. Basically, firstborn men in his family only have one of two names, James or Henry. My husband's grandfather was James, so his name is James too. My husband's father is called Henry, so our child should be too, and so on and so forth. But my husband and I really didn't feel like calling our child Henry, and although it's a beautiful way to honor family members, we really wanted our child to have a name that would be personal, that would truly be his. So we chose another name, and decided to wait until after the birth to reveal it to everyone. This week, my mother-in-law came to visit us and help set up for the baby. She brought us some presents, among which was a bunch of clothes on which she had embroidered the name Henry. I said that it was nice and thanked her for it, but I told her we wouldn't be naming our child Henry as we'd already told her in the past. She started insisting and saying it was a tradition, so it had to be that way. I explained to her that we'd rather give our child a name that we chose and that Henry could be his middle name. She immediately went to my husband and started saying things like, "You're not going to let her do that to our family," and making it very dramatic, saying that I was breaking a tradition that went back hundreds of years. Honestly, not sure about that. My husband tried to explain that we both agreed on the name and all the reasons why we made that choice, but she wouldn't listen. She suggested that we name him Henry on paper as his legal name and then call him something else, but I thought that would be confusing for him and told her that he would be named what we chose. She kept begging my husband and saying that I was ruining family tradition, and at one point I lost it, which is partially to blame on the hormones, I think, and I told her that it was our child, so we did what we wanted and we didn't have to follow a stupid tradition. She stormed out, and my husband has since received texts from his father and sister accusing me of making his mother feel really bad and some other stuff that I don't really remember. I get the importance of tradition, and it can be really beautiful, but I also feel like that shouldn't be an obligation, and it's okay to change things. We won't change our baby's name because we're really set on that, but maybe we were wrong for not following the tradition? I'm not entirely sure, and I'm extremely exhausted by all this drama. Your baby, you can pick the name. That is one of the benefits of becoming a parent. Fighting with your significant other over what you're going to name the child. That's actually most of the stories that I read on here that have to do with baby names. Parents fighting over different names that they don't want their child to have or do want their child to have. It's refreshing to see one that's a little different. I've never heard of this being a thing in a family. I've heard of like Henry the First and Henry the Eighth, or, you got Paul and Paul Jr., but I've never encountered one where you have to pick between either James or Henry, and you're expected to pick that name when you have a baby. I honestly think that your mother-in-law came over to stir the pot also. I think she brought all this baby name stuff with embroidered names on it just to stir the pot. She's one of those mother-in-laws, the ones that like to stir the pot and cause problems where they shouldn't exist. So yeah, you pick the baby name. They'll get over it in time. Your family, after all. I'm sure they're not going to let this be a major wedge between you and them. Introduce your baby as the name you chose. Do not cave to people who demand you follow tradition. Some traditions are meant to be broken. If you wanted to follow it, more power to you. Do it. If you don't, you don't. Our stories for today have come to a close. If you enjoy this content, click like or subscribe. You can also click the notification bell and it will alert you when new videos drop. Until we meet again, have a nice day.